Your parents told you to buy a house. Every financial guru on the internet says real estate is the greatest, safest investment of all time. They say renting is just throwing money away. But what if they're completely wrong? What if the person who never buys a home and rents their entire life actually ends up hundreds of thousands of dollars richer than the homeowner? Welcome back. Today, we're challenging one of the most sacred beliefs in personal finance. We're putting a homeowner head-to-head against a lifelong renter. Same income, same discipline, same city. And we're going to let the cold, hard math decide who builds more wealth over 25 years. Before you grab your pitchforks in the comments, I promise we are going to be completely fair to both sides. There are hidden costs to owning a home that nobody talks about. And there are brutal mathematical disadvantages to renting that most people completely ignore. By the end of this video, we are going to show you the exact numbers and the precise breaking point where renting mathematically beats buying. If you appreciate transparent, unbiased math, do me a favor and hit that like button. Let's get into the numbers. Let's set the stage. Mark and Lisa both live in the same mid-sized American city, and they both take home $5,000 a month after taxes. Mark decides to follow the traditional American dream. He buys a $350,000 home. He puts down a 10% down payment, which is $35,000, and takes out a 30-year fixed mortgage at a 7% interest rate. His monthly mortgage payment comes out to roughly $2,100. This includes his principal, interest, property taxes, and homeowner's insurance. But as every homeowner knows, the mortgage is the minimum you pay. On average, homeowners spend about 1% to 2% of their home's value each year on maintenance, repairs, and HOA fees. That's roughly $400 a month for Mark. A new roof, a broken water heater, a flooded basement. These aren't hypothetical. They're mathematically guaranteed over a 25-year timeline. So, Mark's total monthly housing cost is a flat $20,500. Now, let's look at Lisa. She rents a similar quality apartment in the same neighborhood for $1,800 a month. No maintenance, no property taxes, no surprise repair bills for a broken AC unit. Her landlord handles all of that. But here's the critical move that makes Lisa different from 99% of renters. She takes that $700 difference, what Mark spends on ownership costs beyond her rent, and she invests every single dollar of it into the stock market every month. On top of that, she takes the $35,000 she would have used as a down payment and invests that lump sum on day one. Lisa invests in a simple S&P 500 index fund, which historically averages a 10% annual return. Mark's home, on the other hand, historically appreciates at about 3.5% per year. Now let's let 25 years play out and see who comes out on top. Fast forward 25 years. Both Mark and Lisa are looking at their net worth. Mark has nearly paid off his mortgage. His home, which he bought for $350,000, has appreciated at 3.5% per year and is now worth roughly $825,000. He still owes about $85,000 on his mortgage, so his total net home equity is approximately $740,000. Mark looks like a financial genius. He turned a $35,000 down payment into nearly $750,000 in wealth. That is the incredible power of real estate leverage. Now, let's check on Lisa. She invested that $35,000 down payment lump sum and then added $700 every single month for 25 years into the S&P 500. At a 10% average annual return, her initial $35,000 grew to $379,000. Her $700 monthly contributions compounded to a massive $828,000. Add them together, and Lisa's portfolio has grown to $1.2 million. Lisa has $460,000 more than Mark. On paper, the renter absolutely destroyed the homeowner. But hold on. We are not done. Because the homeowner crowd is screaming at their screens right now, and they are 100% correct. This scenario is an illusion because it ignores the brutal reality of the math. We assumed Lisa's rent stayed at $2,800 a month for 25 years, but in the real world, rent goes up. And this is where the math completely flips. Let's introduce a realistic 3.5% annual rent increase. In year 1, Lisa pays $1,800. But by year 10, her rent has increased to $2,450. Her $700 a month investing advantage has shrunk to just $50 a month. By year 12, the lines cross. Lisa is now paying $2,620 a month in rent, which is more than Mark's fixed $2,500 housing cost. Because her rent is eating up her income, Lisa can no longer invest that $700 a month. In fact, by year 20, her rent is $3,400 a month. She now has to stop investing entirely just to afford her apartment. When we run the math with a 3.5% rent increase, Lisa's final portfolio is not $1.2 million. It drops to $680,000. Suddenly, Mark is the winner. His fixed-rate mortgage acted as a shield against inflation, while Lisa's living expenses skyrocketed. Mark's mortgage payment stayed exactly the same for 3 decades. So, what is the exact breaking point? Where is the mathematical crossover? If rent inflation in your city averages 4% or higher, buying a home mathematically destroys renting every single time. The power of a fixed mortgage payment is simply too strong. But if you live in a city where rent inflation is slow, let's say 2.5% or less, or you move frequently to find rent specials, renting and investing the difference mathematically wins. And that brings us to the biggest hidden variable of all, human psychology. Lisa's strategy only works if she has ironclad discipline. She has to manually transfer that money to her brokerage account every month for years. If she only invests half of her savings and spends the rest on lifestyle upgrades, her final portfolio drops to just $450,000. A mortgage, on the other hand, is a forced savings account. Every single month, whether Mark feels like it or not, a portion of his payment goes toward building equity. He can't skip a month to go on vacation. The bank forces him to build wealth. So let's cut through the noise. When should you actually use these strategies? Situation A. When buying wins. You should absolutely buy a house if you plan to stay in the same city for at least 7 to 10 years. If you are in a rapidly growing area where rent prices are increasing by 4% or more annually, locking in a 30-year fixed mortgage is the ultimate inflation hedge. Furthermore, if you know you lack the strict discipline to invest your extra cash every month, buying a home forces you to build a net worth. Situation B. When renting wins. You should rent and invest the difference if you live in an extremely high cost of living area, like San Francisco, New York, or London, where a mortgage payment is literally double or triple the cost of rent. In these markets, the rent-to-price ratio is heavily skewed. If you can rent cheap, invest the massive difference into index funds, and avoid the friction costs of buying and selling real estate every few years, the math is heavily in your favor. Disclaimer: this is mathematical theory for educational purposes, not financial advice. Always run the numbers for your specific local market. Buying a home is not just a financial decision, it's a lifestyle choice. But as we've seen today, renting is absolutely not throwing money away, provided you actually invest the difference. So, which situation applies to you? Are you locking in a mortgage to beat inflation, or are you renting?